Hello, everyone. Welcome to For Pete's Sake. As always, I'm Pete, joined alongside by Ryan.
I'm Gibby.
And producer Trev over here.
How you doing?
We're recording through a thunderstorm this evening, fellas, but we're just going to power through it. Gentlemen, the first week of the NFL season kicked off this past weekend.
I know we said this before, but football is officially back.
So is fantasy football, too.
Even more important.
Yeah.
Well, let's not waste any time and get right into it. What a freaking debacle that Lions game was, guys.
Oh, God. I mean, I was going to say, thank God we got some rain going, get some ambient noise in here. Maybe we can use that as a little stress relief.
Of course, as you say that, the rain stops.
And you're watching that game, and you know it's the Lions. I saw the tweet from the Detroit Free Press saying the Lions lied at the end of the game, which is completely true.
I mean, that's the best analysis you can honestly give on this game. Both these teams, the Lions pulled the Lions, the Cardinals pulled the Cardinals, and neither team deserved to win this game. And I guess that's what happened in the end.
Yeah, because they tied, which feels like a loss. I know it's not a loss. It just feels like a loss the way it happened. I know, and like I said, I know that you expect the Lions to do something like that from years of watching them. But they give you this hope. We were dominating them through three quarters.
We were talking about this last week, how we were kind of high on this team this year, and they played 3.5 quarters of just really good football.
Well, I don't think Trev was that high on them, if I remember correctly.
I'm at the point now with this team where, any hope I could have had will just never resurface. If they do anything, it'll be
good for you, man.
If they do anything, it'll be the greatest of surprises, and I'll be all
That's
for
where
it.
I
But I
wanna
can't
be.
get high on this team.
Well, and we talked about every Lions fan knows that every year we find a new way to lose. Like the Calvin Johnson rule. Remember one year we threw a challenge flag that got called back and we got a penalty. The Golden Tate thing from a couple years ago. Remember at the end of the game,
10-second runoff.
10-second runoff.
God.
And
this just dates back year after year. It's part of our history at this point now.
And of course, we found a new way this year with the timeout called right when we got that first down.
Little, dare I say, timeout gate.
Matt Patricia.
Yeah.
My God.
I mean, if you want to play the blame game here, I think you got to blame this one on the coaches.
Oh, absolutely. They got the first down. And you knew as soon as you heard that timeout called and you saw them get the first down, you knew the next play they weren't going to get it.
Typical Lions luck. And you saw Stafford come off the field yelling, showing a little passion for once, yelling at his coaches to trust him.
Well, I don't blame them. I mean, they had a good play call there, and it totally just killed their momentum. The defense played well.
No, we didn't look the same after that.
No, it was demoralizing for the team. I know they said the offensive coordinator actually signaled it, but they said Patricia had to be the one to call it as the head coach or a player in the field. But Stafford didn't call it. He knew what he was doing out there.
No, I mean, it's just where I'm at with Patricia right now. Do you want to say he's on the hot seat?
Oh, absolutely. I think he was on the hot seat before the season started after what happened last year. I mean, they got rid of Caldwell, who consistently led us to 9-7 seasons. He made the playoffs 3 times.
We were always a playoff contender under Caldwell.
Yeah, we were a bubble team, which for this franchise, that's all you can ask for.
We took a step back. We can't be losing game. Patricia just got outcoached by Clint Kingsbury. Are you kidding me?
Who should not be a coach in the NFL, really, just based on his record at Texas
Tech. To me,
Patricia's
playing dress up. He's playing play pretend with this team. He goes in during the preseason. Reporters were asking him is Stafford going to start? He couldn't even give you a solid answer. And you can't act like that. You can't have an attitude like that if you don't win games, much less win games against the Arizona Cardinals, one of the worst teams in the NFL. It's just ridiculous.
Well, and the Cardinals looked so bad throughout 3 quarters of that game. I mean, Kyler Murray had 40 yards completed throughout the entire first 3 quarters, and the fourth quarter started, and then they just collapsed. I don't know if that's based on the defensive scheme or what.
I want to say, in regards, that's pinned on the coaching, too. Where was Carry-On the entire second and third quarter? We weren't giving him carries. He should have got more touches.
And when you're winning like that, you want to run the clock, right?
We should have carried on with carry-on.
There it is.
Our offense just played way too timidly. Play calling was too conservative. Even on defense, I feel we kind of eased up in coverage, and Murray was able to drive down the field where he wasn't able to do that the first 3 quarters.
And the Stafford almost threw that pick at the end of overtime.
Oh, my God.
Honestly,
I'm surprised it wasn't an interception.
I honestly didn't even care if it did, because I just felt a tie at that point. From the lead that we had to all of a sudden tying, I just felt like that was a loss. I know on the record that's not a loss, but it just felt like it basically collapsed.
I mean, if we had any chance at contention, we needed to win that game.
Oh, yeah, we talked about it last week. The next 3 games versus the Chargers, who won, the Eagles who won, the Chiefs who won. Like those 3 games are very
It's
tough
gonna
to
be
win.
brutal.
Well, we'll see what happens there. Obviously, like I said, you knew something like this could happen based on history of the Lions, but it just gets me every time, especially when you had a lead like that.
It's not even just the history of the Lions, it's the history of these expatriate coordinators just going on to be head coaches of various teams.
No one's ever done it. No one can do it.
Bill O'Brien is the only remotely successful one, and he's been on the hot seat in Houston for like 2 or 3 seasons now, it seems like. And I don't know when the rest of the league's going to wise up and start realizing these guys aren't head coaches for a reason.
Well, I give Stafford a lot of credit. He had a very good game. He led us, I think at the end of the game, he led us in overtime. He had, I think, 3 passing touchdowns.
He did lead us on that field goal drive. And
Hawkinson looked really good.
That was another takeaway I had. Hawkinson looked really good. First career game, and he went off.
I thought the offensive line held up pretty well, too.
The offensive line looked good, too.
Actually, the defense looked great for the first 3 quarters. They fell apart, like we said, in the fourth quarter. However, that momentum killer, I'm sure, affected the whole team. When you had the first down, like we mentioned, and you call a timeout and he gets called back.
I will say I was a little underimpressed with the D-line, just all these new signees, all these new guys on our D-line. They didn't play bad, but I expected more, especially when we're paired up against the Cardinals' offensive line.
Like I said, and if we won that game, if they didn't have that comeback at the end, if they didn't get that 2-point conversion, I don't think we're talking about that. I think we're saying the defense let up at the end, but we still got the win.
It's the first game of the season.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think the personnel on the team's not bad. It's just the decision making really killed us in that one.
Yeah. One other takeaway from this game for me was just like how bad the NFL overtime rules suck.
Oof.
Like how is this still in existence?
It dropped to 10 minutes, right?
It's 10 minutes now, and like the first score wins, but unless the other team gets a field goal, it's just like do it like college. Like college OT is awesome.
Start them on the 25 and have them each get a possession. And
thing is, offense is too good in the NFL.
Well, do you guys prefer that method then, the 25-yard line?
Oh yeah, college football OT is awesome. It's incredible.
Both
it goes a lot quicker too. At least it seems like from a fan perspective.
Yeah. And you're right in the action right away, starting at the 25-yard line. You're not watching the team build it up the field. You're already in scoring position there.
It puts both sides of the ball under pressure immediately, which will make stuff happen.
Yeah. No, and I say granted 25 yards and like the offensive, where we are at with offense in the NFL, like maybe move it back to like the 40 or the 50 or something, so it's not like an automatic field goal every time.
At least like the 35, because there's some kickers in the NFL that
how is this still a rule? Like I just don't get that.
I like the 35-yard line idea, and also it's harder to score in the red zone. Mm-hmm. But the defense, the field compresses the defense. It's
another defender.
Exactly. So that's. I like that overtime rule too. We'll see if anything changes. I know they talked about it last year with the end of the Patriots-Chiefs overtime game. The Patriots won right away. It's something to look at. I don't think the college one's perfect either, but I think I prefer it as well.
I would prefer to watch it.
Do you still think there's a point in this theoretical overtime change where a game would end in a tie?
With the stuff using the college rules?
Yeah, like say they adjusted a little bit so where you don't want this going on for hours theoretically if the teams keep tying each other or whatnot.
I mean, you don't see that happen too often in college where like there is like 6+ overtimes. I mean, it does happen every once in a while.
I feel like college is the place to see that happen too, just because you have more inexperienced kids and the teams aren't as complete.
Well, they also added in the college football overtime that I believe is starting the 3rd overtime, you got to go for 2, which could be a change they put into the NFL and if they adopted a similar kind of.
Yeah, or make it at some point, like after the 3rd or 4th time you get the ball, you have to score a touchdown, like field goals don't matter anymore.
That's a good idea too.
No, I like that, and I would definitely want to see those like push for that in the future. Mm-hmm. But just kind of like wrapping up the Lions topic, how do you see us like moving forward in this season? Like, is this season salvageable?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised because Travis said this a couple weeks ago. If we beat a team in the next, like the Chargers or the Chiefs, just at home, because like a fluke win, the Lions always
same
seem
old
to
Lions.
Have, you're tying at Arizona,
and it won't even be a fluky win. They tend to just come out of nowhere and dominate these teams too.
I could see it possibly versus the Chargers just because it's a long trip for them.
Chargers are battling some injuries too, and that the West Coast, I guess you can kind of call us East Coast teams historically do bad against that.
Speaking of Chargers injuries, I want to get this in there. There's a rumor that because they had a tight end go out last week,
Hunter Henry.
There's a rumor that Matt Sokol might be called up to the active squad.
Rochester Adams' own. Yeah. I would love to see it.
I mean, if he sees the
Gives me
field,
something to root
it'll,
for.
Well, they're versing the Lions too. So
Maybe
they
I'll
could
have to pick him up on fantasy.
if he actually gets on the app.
You go for it, Gibbs. I'm not gonna do that, but you go for it.
But yeah, no, I mean, I could actually see them beating the Chargers. I think that's a team they match up well with. Our defensive line, they're going to be able to contain Rivers where he's not a running threat whatsoever.
Absolutely.
I think it's a good matchup for us. Granted, I can't get invested in this team yet. Like, after what they just did to me, like, I'm just going to watch and see what happens. I'm not actively cheering for them.
Hear them roar.
Or so I say.
I think there's still a chance for like growth in the individuals on the team this year, but as the team is like for the team as a whole, I don't really see much coming from this season.
It's time to tank for Tua. But I did want to touch just on one more savage move by the Lions this week where they signed quarterback Chad Kenoff. You can run with your imagination on that name. But they signed him from the Cardinals earlier this week, and he was cut by them and at the end of their training camp, and we signed him and picked him up. Because the rest, along with us and the rest of the NFL, no one really had an idea of what the Cardinals were going to do with Murray at quarterback. So we picked up Chad Kenoff to provide some insight on their play.
Who?
Chad Kenoff.
Say that 5 times fast.
There you go. To provide some insight on their playbook. And unfortunately, Chad Kenoff, he was cut by the Lions today. So his season's, we cut him from our practice squad. And I guess some might say the Chad Kenoff error happened too soon and too quickly, if you get what I'm throwing out there.
Thanks, bud.
You're welcome.
I don't get it.
He's Chad Kenoff into the wilderness.
Get it now?
No.
I don't either.
So our next topic that we want to talk about, we're talking about the Lions. Of course, the most interesting team we were talking about last week was, or throughout the offseason, was the Oakland Raiders. Is that right, Gibby? They're featured in Hard Knocks. We said they have the most interesting offseason.
John Gruden, too.
Knock on wood if you're with me.
There it is.
And, of course, the Antonio Brown saga was going on the entire last week. And we say that's like acknowledging that the Antonio Brown lawsuit just came out last night. So we're going to kind of be sensitive about that and kind of see where the whole situation plays
I think
out.
it's too early to really comment on that. We don't know what's going on there.
Exactly.
I gotta say the timing of that was very suspicious when that came out.
Well, like I said, we just wanted to...
Dude's just got to stay out of the news for literally 2 days.
It's not possible, man. Like, every single day, every other day, there's something. Most notably, like we said last week, when he was, on the team, then the whole fight with Mike
I
Mayock.
swear, I just need a flow chart to follow what the hell is going on here.
I've never heard of a player threatening or getting into it with the general manager like that. Posting something on social media like that was crazy to watch.
I mean, like, okay, are you referencing the video?
Well, I was actually
Or,
referencing
like,
the fines that he put on
so there's
Instagram.
just so much stuff going on. He, like, was pissed off about his fine, so he threw that on his Instagram account. And, like, who knows if there was, like, something going on behind the scenes there. There's been a little bit of a conspiracy theory saying he, like, reached out to people to try to, like, help him out and, like, getting cut, essentially.
Well, we'll get into that in a second, but, like, the timeline was essentially he got into the argument with posted the fine on Instagram, then got to the fight with the general manager on Wednesday. Thursday, they told him not to show up, and they essentially said, we're planning on suspending him. Friday, he came and apologized to the team, and Gruden said, you know what, he's going to play Monday night, everything's good.
And it was the weirdest thing. Like,
wake up Saturday morning.
I thought he was suspended. Like, what's going on?
You wake up Saturday morning, and then they took away all of his guaranteed money in that fine. And honestly, at that point, I kind of understood why he would want out. I mean, you just lost $30 million just playing week by week. I understand why you'd be like, you know what, I'm not doing that.
I mean, that was just from both parties were just kind of messed up. I'm sure the Raiders were, like, sick of him at that point. And, like, he just wanted to play football. He wanted to put all this behind him. And, I mean, like, you just kind of – part of me thinks he had to eat the $50K fine. Like, it's whatever. You didn't really show up to practice. But, like, the Raiders also didn't want him to come to practice. So, like, there's just a lot of confusion there.
And it kind of – and I'm not defending, Antonio Brown's actions in this whole thing, but I felt like the Raiders kept pouring, like, gasoline onto that fire, though.
They didn't handle it well.
You didn't have to fine him that last amount and take away his guaranteed money. I know they're trying to protect themselves, but I thought, like I imagine you did, and you did too, Trev, that everything was fine after that thing on Friday.
I mean, that's what Hard Knocks played it out to do, too. Like, every single episode, they would end it with, like, oh, AB's back. And then immediately after the episode, like, before the episode would even air, like, no, it's not fine. Like, he's not showing up to practice. Like, whatever's going on with his helmet too. Like it never ended on a positive note. It seemed like.
Oh, the NFL completely covered up a lot of that scandal during Hard Knocks. Am I right? And they didn't show like anything. They showed his feet like one time. Like so, they pretended like everything was fine. I wonder if the NFL just censored that and said we don't want to have this being shown
the
on
NFL
TV.
or even the Raiders for that matter.
I gotta say, this whole thing, really with Antonio Brown, seems awfully suspicious, especially since he's signed for New England.
Oh man!
Now, just think about this. New England tried to trade for Antonio Brown
They're going
last
to
season.
give up a first-round pick for
Pittsburgh.
him.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh flat out refused to trade him to New England because they don't want to trade to a rival. Whatever, you're Pittsburgh, you're on the decline, you're not going to be relevant for a few years now. But hey, your decision.
Hey, I think they didn't look too
So,
good.
The Patriots in a scandal? That doesn't sound like them at all.
Hey, man.
No. But I mean, if you're Antonio Brown, look at it honestly. Would you rather play for New England or Oakland?
Exactly.
So.
Well, so you two are buying the conspiracy theories then?
I'm not buying it. The fact that it was like well planned out, but I think New England saw the opportunity.
Absolutely. I understand New England completely saying, you know what, he's a great player. We're going to sign this before.
And I think like
lawsuit, but.
Who knows? Like there was some talk about AB reaching out to some people about how he could potentially get cut.
Well, the only thing.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Trev.
I gotta say, I'm totally buying into this. It's the most New England thing ever. And to be honest, what's the worst case scenario for them? They get slapped with a tampering charge and like a $300,000 fine or something. Maybe lose a draft pick.
He's gonna make Josh Gordon look like a saint for New England.
Exactly. It's worth it 100% if this guy puts up the numbers he's capable of.
Well, the one counter argument, I guess, to the Antonio Brown, wanting out was just that he gave up through all these actions. He lost $30 million guaranteed and signed him to New England for $10 million. I know if you're saying he wants to be on New England, which obviously they're a better team, better situation for him. But you gave him $20 million guaranteed to do it. And I don't think he had this master plan, like every step was calculated to get on that team. I understand New England wanting to have interest on it.
No, it was just the perfect timing for New England. And I don't know the terms of like how much money he lost or not, or in terms of like guaranteed money or things like that.
I'm just objecting to the idea that this whole entire time Antonio Brown's like, I'm going to sabotage this whole thing. New England.
That's...
I don't think it started off like that for sure. But I could see at some point as that was developing, someone from New England ringing him up and say, hey, if you get cut, we're going to be here.
Like I said, he still gave up $20 million to do that, which is just like crazy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't like premeditated. Like, this wasn't going on in advance.
Oakland
like when the opportunity presented itself, I'm sure New England like kind of slid in the door a little bit.
Oakland had to know when they sent him that final letter.
Not to mention, like, have you heard his agent in the news? Like, this dude sounds like the sleaziest guy ever.
He's walking around with those AirPods in on like the first take interviews. Oh my god!
He's a sports agent. All those guys like him, Scott Boras.
He just has that face, man. It's funny to watch.
The punchable face.
Hey, man.
I'm sorry.
He's a good agent, though. I think he was Terrell Owens' agent, too.
I don't know how he like did all this PR spin and made AB kind of come out of every situation positively, but
he put great spin on
he deserves every like 3% or whatever percentage of AB's contract he's getting.
And I give him credit. He went on all those big shows.
He did.
Yeah. That's 30 years of sports like agent work showing up at the time you need it most if you're Antonio.
I just love the interviews looking at him like in the airport with AirPods on, just like FaceTiming in to like get up in the morning on ESPN.
I mean, he knows what's going on behind the scenes. I'm sure he has a story to tell. But we did kind of talk about how he's going to be in New England, and like New England has so many options. They have obviously Brady's like the number one guy there. Do you think that's going to be a problem for AB like moving on in the future?
I don't think so. I think this is kind of his. I don't know how many other teams really had interest in him after that whole debacle in Oakland. New England always thinks they can handle, and this is, like I said, we'll see what happens here with the lawsuit if he gets placed on the exception list, because we still have to find that out if he's suspended by the NFL. But just saying that he's not just looking at the team overall with those players. I mean, Antonio Brown, Josh Gordon, Julian Edelman. They traded away Demaryius Thomas because they're like, we don't even need you anymore at this point.
I know. Oh, my God.
Those
and then there's
right
even
there.
some talk about Gronk coming back, too.
Oh, my God. Yeah, I think I saw that in like week 10 or week 12 or whatever. He said he's coming back, so it was on a Barstool account. So we'll find out. They still got a great running game as well. They got James White. I know he's on your fantasy team there.
Yeah, I mean, they got White and is it Mitchell, too, coming out of the backfield. Like, they're... Mitchell. Perfect.
It's that E.
It's hard.
It's spelled weird, though.
Words are hard sometimes.
It's like French. It's Michel.
Yeah,
There it
Michelle
is.
usually has an E at the end, doesn't it? It's an LLE for Michelle, and Mitchell has no E, usually.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like the
guess
girl's name,
Yeah.
Michelle, yeah.
Guess I'm just not cultured. But I mean, a whole nother spin to this story was everything OJ Simpson has been saying on Twitter. He's thrown
man.
multiple videos out there, and honestly, being somewhat of a peacemaker, calling out AB to like pay his fine. He's even been defending him with all these allegations that came up and referencing how you're innocent until proven guilty. I'm like, come on, OJ, take it easy.
Is there a worse person I feel like to be defending?
Yeah, that can't be good PR. But this is the second run-in that OJ's fantasy team had. Because he had Luck, and then it turns out he also had AB on his fantasy team, too.
I'm curious who else he has on his team. I want to know.
Is there a curse?
Yeah, I mean, there could be some crazy stuff that comes out about like whoever his running back is, which I think is still unknown at this point. But
I mean, he'll keep us updated with those videos, but I did wanted to throw that little tidbit out there.
Is he in like a vineyard when he's doing it?
She's always like at the golf course or like some
he's out doing
winery or a
something
bar.
outdoors.
Who's recording it for him? Because he's not like
I
holding it in front
know.
of his
He
face.
doesn't even tweet. It's always videos.
Someone's just doing. Well, that's what happens when you're just away for a while. You just don't know what people are doing. It's like, oh, just make some videos there.
That's a documentary waiting to happen. Being the
Behind the
Juice's like
scenes.
personal videographer.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the Antonio Brown saga from the past
Well, that
week.
too.
There you go. Maybe it's the same person.
The both of them combined there.
If OJ was the mastermind of all this, I mean, fair play.
I guess like if we kind of want to wrap this topic up, one of the positive things to come out this whole AB scandal, excuse me,
The
was
candle?
stop it. First it was the Michelle thing, now this. Yikes. But Keelan Doss, undrafted free agent that starred in Hard Knocks. He's one of the last cuts on the Raiders, and he grew up around the Oakland area, and he was a local kid who dreamed of playing for the Raiders, and they just signed him and added him to their active roster. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Hope he lights it up like a candle.
Now, as great as that is,
I deserve that one.
could they sell an Antonio Brown candle, and would you pay for it?
I mean, if it...
What would it smell like? Just
I mean, whatever Antonio Brown smells like. I don't know. How else would you market that?
it's just an Antonio Brown candle.
Maybe he has a deal with like Yankee Candle to get some like I don't know.
Is there a better store? In
I
the
mean, he
world?
did get the...
rose scented candles.
He
Or
did
something.
get the helmet contract or whatever when he needed the new helmet. I forgot what company sponsored him, but
I don't know.
he got some cash for that.
Now he's moving on to candles. Apparently.
Well, as we said earlier, it's great to have football back. Week 1. Gibby, who are the teams that really stood out to you? We're talking about best and worst performances for the first week. What do you got for me?
Well, I mean, god awful. Well, I mean, I guess these kind of go hand in hand in best and worst case situation, but Lamar Jackson and the Ravens went off. Jackson was 17-20. He had 5 touchdowns, literally a perfect QBR, and this guy who was claimed as a running back looked like a pocket passer back there, and he only ran the ball twice for someone who usually relies on their legs. I mean, granted, this was all against Miami, who looked god awful.
Oh my God. Was it Bill Polian that said he thought Lamar Jackson would be a great wide receiver?
I mean, everyone was throwing his name out. Like, he could be a receiver, he could be a running back.
He looked great in that game, but I heard there's reports already that several Dolphins players went out.
Demanded to be traded.
Well, this is the first time I feel like where it's been so obvious that a team's trying to tank. I mean, Cleveland was bad for years. The Lions were bad. But I didn't feel like we were tanking. I thought we were just bad. Like, we were trying. We just weren't.
No, it's like NBA level bad.
They trade away so many players the past week. Their left tackle, their wide receiver, their middle linebacker, just in order to, it feels like, become the worst team in the league.
There's a difference between being an incompetent franchise and one that's deliberately trying to be bad.
It's a good point.
Hot take for you guys. I will say that no matter, like, Miami's obviously bad, but their unis, I want to say, are one of the best in the NFL.
The teal ones?
Little tropical teal, yeah.
Yeah, I think they have bright orange ones too, don't they?
Bright orange.
It's the whole South Florida
Yuck.
vibe. And
I don't know if I feel that, but I mean, the teal unis are kind of dope. A little tropical. I like them.
That's great.
And apparently Chad Ochocinco has some interest in joining the Dolphins.
Oh my God, is Jay Cutler coming back too then?
I hope not.
Oh my.
Well, another standout for me was Sammy Watkins.
Oh
Dude
my
went
God.
off.
We talked about that earlier. Person in our fantasy football league played him. 46 points he put up there.
Yeah,
no one saw that
fantasy.
coming.
Yeah,
He's
based on
crazy.
ESPN scoring.
Sammy Watkins.
He almost had 200 yards receiving.
Exactly. He had 3 touchdowns. I don't think Sammy Watkins saw that game coming from him.
No. I mean, they're going to be missing Tyreek Hill for a little bit now. I think he messed up his collarbone
His
or
clavicle. It's a great word.
So, I mean, Watkins will be getting some throws.
He could have
some targets these upcoming
season
weeks.
as the number one wide receiver there. What were you saying?
I mean, he's always been a guy there's been a lot of hype around him, but he's never made that next step to be like an elite NFL receiver. So, I mean, maybe it's that time.
I thought Christian McCaffrey had a great game too. Trev, no, he's on your fantasy
Dude's
team.
a beast.
Oh, yeah, no, dude went off. Good to see. I think he's going to be the focal point of Carolina's offense. Cam Newton sort of regressed a little bit these last few years. And
he was on my worst fantasy football list, Cam Newton. He only put up 5 points for a starting QB.
You know, ever since he made that Super Bowl run, he's just gone downhill every year.
I mean, he's always been relying on his legs. And
yeah, he got hurt in 2017, I want to say. Had like a leg injury.
He's just going to always have that problem with injuries. But if he does stay healthy, I mean, I could see Carolina being solid this year, especially with McCaffrey.
Well, a guy that was on my fantasy team that had a great week was Austin Eckler there. Backup running back for the Chargers. Great play by himself.
I thought Melvin Gordon was a running back.
He charged right through the Colts there.
There you go. How long did it take you to come up with that one?
Long time. I also played Baker Mayfield. That's one of my downers of the week. The Browns, man.
Browns in general.
How disappointing was that? They're remind me of the Lions, except they have more hope this year. And I thought they were going to beat Tennessee at home. They looked so good that first drive. OBJ with that $190,000 watch on, and of course, as soon as they scored that first touchdown, it just went downhill.
I mean, it's just a fantasy football team. I feel like I think their GM is Dorsey. Yeah, and I feel like he's just playing fantasy football with these guys. Granted, they're all good, but I think it's going to take some time for them to get back to to get on the same page and all get together.
They have some excellent players in the team. They just had so many penalties, which cost them. I think they had almost 200 yards worth of penalties. This is why Tennessee's offense looked great. When does Tennessee's offense score up that many points? Marcus Mariota, man.
Yeah, Cleveland didn't really look like a team even week one. They were just very disjointed all over the place.
Especially with all the hype around them.
Well, I saw their starting left tackle who got ejected for punching somebody was Greg Robinson. Do you guys remember him for the left tackle last year, the Lions?
Dude, I just try to forget these Lions seasons.
Was he the number 2 overall pick at some point?
Yeah, I believe so.
Talking about the Lions.
Also, in fantasy football, if you're starting any Dolphins players, you're going to lose that week. Just flat out.
You even have a Dolphins
Unless
player.
you're in a 32-team league where you have to start a Dolphins player.
Do you think Alabama could beat the Dolphins?
Or Clemson.
Oh, yeah, for Clemson for that matter.
Well, I think Clemson or Alabama's quarterback is going to be playing for the Dolphins in a year or two. I know that Tua can go pro after this year. If they don't want Tua, they're going to get Lawrence the year after. So there's one of their future QBs is on those teams. The best team of the week, I thought the Patriots looked crazy good without Antonio Brown.
They don't even need AV.
Is that really a surprise to anyone, though?
I was surprised how bad the Steelers looked.
How bad Pittsburgh looked. They looked god-awful.
I know you have Juju Smith-Schuster on your team. By the way,
he was the highlight of their offense. Granted, he didn't even do that well, though.
I saw this during the broadcast. I think it was Al Michaels that brought this up. Do you know what Juju Smith's first name actually is?
Zero idea.
John Smith. He was born as John Smith.
That's so funny.
Started going by Juju.
He doesn't look like a John to me.
Was it his stepdad? Was his last name Schuster? So John Smith became Juju Smith-Schuster.
Juju sounds way better. If I knew his name was John, I definitely would not have drafted this.
And not just John Smith.
John Smith.
You probably saw his name on all those credit card commercials when they're giving out the generic names, showing you how to apply, and he's like, "I don't want this." And I don't blame him.
Are those numbers real on the cards, by the way, in those that you see him on there? The credit card?
They're always 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Creative.
I just always wondered that. Is that somebody...
I sincerely doubt that's a registered credit card number, but I could be wrong.
You're probably right. I just always thought about that. It's like that identity theft ad, the guy in the subway. You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, it doesn't hurt to try the number, right?
Your Wi-Fi allows you to be under threat from potential internet hackers.
Yeah, he's sharing this password with other people. It's come on, man. But yeah, the Patriots played great. I thought the Steelers were pretty bad. Thought the Vikings looked pretty good. I thought they were going to be good before the season.
Yeah, because Kirk Cousins didn't throw the ball.
He threw the ball 10 times.
And that's why they won.
Dalvin Cook looked great.
Yeah.
I thought another team looked really good was the Cowboys. Jerry Jones' team.
They went off.
Think they're going to pay Dak Prescott now?
After that game, they have to.
I think they were overlooked by many people going into this season, too. let's not forget they won the NFC East last year.
Well, I thought Philadelphia was going to be the 1 seed, but after watching that game
They
last
started
week,
off so poorly.
They started off
I
poorly.
mean, granted, they won.
Just watching how good the Cowboys looked, I might regret that pick that I had there.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Philadelphia is a pretty much bona fide playoff team unless they get a bunch of injuries. But Dallas might be the favorite in that division.
Well, like another game that was kind of talking about like two playoff contenders was the Monday night game.
Oh, the Raiders and the Broncos.
No, not that one. There's two this week.
Joe Flacco.
No. How about Drew Brees? Deshaun Watson.
Oh, Deshaun Watson, man. I know that's is that your QB or is that somebody
It's not
else's?
mine, but I mean that was just an incredible game to watch. It started off slow, but come the third, fourth quarter,
He looked great.
both those quarterbacks look so good. Both these teams are going to be serious Super Bowl contenders, I think.
So in the same draft that Deshaun Watson, Patrick Mahomes won the same draft. Who went number 3 that year, or number 2, was by the Chicago Bears, who traded up to get Mitchell Trubisky.
Oh man,
Talk about regretting a pick right there, man. He looked terrible in that Thursday night game.
so bad.
But back to the original point you had there, the Saints and Texans.
I mean, I
looked
was
great.
watching that game after the Lions game. That was the next game on, and it felt just refreshing to actually watch what a football game should look like and should feel like. And the entire fourth quarter of that game was crazy. I think it was Deshaun Watson drove Houston down the field, scored a touchdown with like 30 seconds left in the game.
Drew Brees took him right back down.
Drew Brees
there.
took him right back down.
It's like a 58-yard
set up
field
a
goal.
58-yard field goal. Dude knocks it down. Time expires, and it felt like Super Bowl, like playoff atmosphere. But it's only week 1, and that was just a really good game to watch.
And again, I felt that same kind of atmosphere in that Raiders-Broncos game, watching Joe Flacco out there slinging around.
Derek Carr and Joe Flacco. Oh, poor
Without
Joe
Antonio
Flacco.
Brown. They look great.
Is Joe Flacco elite? He won that Super Bowl.
Like 5 years ago, maybe.
Bringing back this argument from 5 years ago.
But he's a champ. He's got as many rings as Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees. And Eli has more than both of them.
And Nick Foles.
And Nick Foles.
By the way,
Kind of.
hoping for a speedy recovery there on Big Dick Nick.
Yeah, poor guy. He got injured, I think, like 5 throws into the season.
Yeah,
They threw a
it was in the
touchdown.
first quarter, wasn't it?
On that play, yeah.
The dude who came in, I think he's a rookie. He was like
Oh,
their
have you seen this
6th-round
guy?
pick. He went off. He's
Does
got
he have
the
a stash?
Gardner Minshew.
Oh, my
Yeah,
God.
dude.
I got to pick him up on fantasy. He looked great, man.
I was like, who is this guy?
And his
na-
game looked great, too.
His name sounds like a vegetarian, like Chinese dish.
Oh, my God.
But
Well, I'm excited to see him play throughout the rest of the season. We'll see how long Nick Foles is out. Well, I think that wraps up our Week 1 NFL covers. Looking forward to this next week.
Yeah, it starts tomorrow.
Painfully, I'll be watching the Lions versus the Chargers. Come on, Lions. Got to pull that one out
I think
again.
they're going to win, but I'm not happy about it.
Let's roll with them again, Keeby. Let's say that you're going to win.
Chargers easily.
Yeah. Well, into the college football recap now. Of course, we're Michigan-based. We're going to focus on the UMich and MSU games. Which game do you guys want to start with here?
Well, I mean, we're all
Let's go with the
Spartans. I feel like there's less to say on Michigan State too this week.
Talking about green, how about those uniforms, man?
I
Oh,
gotta say,
man.
I hate those.
Those two-toned.
Okay,
That's-
hear me out. Hear me out. The pants are disgusting. The jerseys, not terrible. State logo is neat, like is way too big.
Oh, on the chest.
The
state
state
it's-
logo on the chest is way too big. The jerseys itself, not bad. But one thing I did really like is the helmets, like the lime green helmet.
Yeah, I don't
You
mind
match
those.
that up with the dark greens, like our home jerseys. I don't think that will look bad.
If it was more subtle than what it was, the lime green.
Just
into
the
it, it
pant,
would've
the
looked a
pants
lot
for me
better.
were disgusting.
Well, I didn't like the two tones, like the change
It's
in
whack,
the color.
yeah.
Just pick one of them. Like I said, you prefer the darker green. I didn't mind the lime green one, but I don't like them together, like the jersey one color and the pant another color. Just pick one and let's go
If they went like lime green and like almost like black,
yeah.
that would
Yeah,
look-
no, that's what I'm thinking
I
too.
feel like even the dark, like a really dark green, is kind of like black. It's like a darker color, it's like the accent to it.
yeah.
But that's not what they did.
I mean,
That
that's
state logo
the
across
worst
chest.
alternative jersey I've ever seen anywhere.
And
Especially by Michigan State, I've never seen.
Yeah.
them.
But meanwhile, they had a great game offensively, which was refreshing to see.
I mean, that's the D'Antoni was joking around like we won this game. We might see those jerseys again, and
oh man,
we didn't just win this game. Our offense actually looked good for the first time in like a year. It's
Collins
been a
looked
while.
really good as a running back. I think we have our starting running back right there.
He was named the starter for this week. He put up almost 200 yards rushing.
He looked great.
I don't know where. I think he's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
Dude came out of nowhere.
No, I'll take him over Jefferson almost every
Yeah,
down.
and then Williams also had a really good game too. He's a true freshman. He only got the ball 6 times, but
good average.
yeah, he looked all right too.
The defense looked good, but we knew the defense was going to be good after last week. You know how good they're going to be this year, so that wasn't surprising there.
O-line looked solid compared to last week too.
Yeah.
Big game versus Arizona State this week, which I got wrong last week, but it's this week.
A little redemption game.
Yeah, no, this is going to be the big test because with all due respect, last week it's Western Michigan without PJ Fleck a few years after. They're not as strong as they used to be.
He's overrated now.
Row the boat.
But still, he had that program going, you got to admit, when he was there.
Is he a gopher now, Minnesota?
Yeah, which good luck turning the program around. But
I mean, we got our biggest test so far this week.
Going against Herm Edwards. Is he playoffs guy?
Playoffs? Yeah, we got the 4 o'clock kickoff, which I think it's the best time to start a college football game.
Yeah, it's a bit sad that the year after we all graduate state, they get the good kickoff times.
I know. It's ridiculous, man.
We had a Friday night game last year, and I believe every other home game except the last one of the year was a noon kickoff.
Yeah, I want to wake up early on the weekends, man. I know some people do, especially you're in college, but I don't want to do it.
I couldn't do it last year. I used to be able to do that, the whole tailgate before noon games. I couldn't this year.
I'm tired right after the game.
I just want to turn on the TV and watch it.
Yeah.
You know?
I think almost every fan here can agree 3:30 is the perfect kickoff time for tailgating.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can get up,
wake up a little bit.
Get up when you normally get up and just have a good old time until it's game time.
We just mentioned something that I prefer to do. I actually like watching the games on TV better just because they're so much clearer on TV now instead of going to the game.
Yeah, no, I got my little Saturday routine where I throw on College Game Day for a little bit, ease into it. The new games start off.
I watch some Premier League in the morning there, Trev.
Yeah, they're on an international break here recently, though, so college football is king for these few weeks.
They come back this weekend, though, so we'll be watching some soccer.
It is. I want to throw this in here, too. Small soccer tidbit for the week, the only one.
Let's hear it.
Today was Vincent Kompany's testimonial at Manchester City.
What does that mean?
Basically, if you've been on a team for 10 or more seasons in soccer, they will throw you a game after you've left, basically in your honor, and they bring back a lot of former players.
Oh, that's cool. That's kind of dope.
Not only that were on your team, but that played against you. Game finished 2-2. It was a best of Manchester City versus a Premier League All-Star team. Goals from, I believe, Benjani, Martin Petrov, which two throwback names there for City fans. Those are both pre-takeover signings. Then Robin Van Persie, I believe, got a brace for the Premier League All-Stars team. But
I like that idea, though, of throwing a game for a guy who's been there for so long. I don't think you would see that in American sports because as soon as a player leaves, all of a sudden we hate them, it feels like.
Yeah. No, especially if they were traded or wanted to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
Yeah, which it's ironic because Vincent Kompany picked up a injury playing for Anderlecht 2 weeks ago, so he couldn't actually play in this game that was for him. But it was nice to see all the old faces back.
Yeah, it's a really good tradition. I like to see that kind of adopt American sports. Yeah. I don't think it will, but I'd like to see it.
I think John Terry got one 2 years ago for Chelsea too, so it's just a tradition over there.
Gabe's your favorite player, John Terry.
Yeah.
Jason Terry for the Celtics?
The Jet.
Honestly, they're pretty much the same guy.
Well, working back to college football, the other game was Michigan. Trev, you almost called this game. A couple weeks ago, you said that you could see Army upsetting Michigan, and it almost came true for you. In fact, it could have very well with that 50-yard field goal at the end by that freshman kicker.
That kick was closer than it looked, and apparently someone got a hand on that, too.
That was his first ever field goal attempt.
I saw that statistic. I was like, oh, my God. They really, they didn't punt the ball. Just watching Army was...
They run the veer, man.
Defeating itself.
That high school. We saw that in high school.
The triple option.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, They reminded me of some of my youth football games where you're coming up against teams that are just scared to throw a pass, which is what Army was. Granted, they still managed to move the ball decent enough.
To be fair, just 4 yards every play.
Yeah.
Well, they held on to the ball a long time, too, which is great to see for them because obviously not as talented as other teams, so they can hold on to the ball.
I got to say, Shea Patterson and Michigan's offensive line did not look good in this game.
And I was surprised because usually Michigan's offensive line has looked really good under Harbaugh.
Yeah, no, that's typically been their strong suit, but Army was getting all over Patterson for most of the first half, which is what caused a lot of those fumbles and turnovers.
Well, I heard Urban Meyer talking about this in the post game show, or I think it was at halftime. Anyways, he said that it's always hard to play one of these Navy or Army, one of these.
The military schools.
It's a different kind of football than what you're accustomed to.
You're not used to seeing that kind of offense, and it throws you off guard, especially if you only have a week to prepare. And that's why they get these teams. I know last year they took Oklahoma, who had Kyler Murray. They went to the playoff. They took them to overtime and almost won. So that was heartbreaking for Army fans this year because you had it again, and you had the chance to win. They just couldn't do it.
This year especially for them, like, they should have won this game. There were opportunities for them to put this game away. They really should have gone up 21-7.
That interception they threw was
in the end zone.
Yeah.
As soon as I saw that happen, I thought Michigan's going to come back in this.
Because Michigan looked dead in the water at that point. But
did you see them all celebrating at the end of the game? Like, they just won a huge game. It was like, no, it's a game you're supposed to win.
I mean, I guess.
In some aspects, they're still kids. A win's a win.
Yeah, they're college kids. They're reacting to a win. They're probably relieved because I think the amount of pressure playing for a school like Michigan that you're supposed to win under Harbaugh and coming up in that close game like that's got to have a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, and as close as they got it, they're still undefeated.
Yeah,
that's true.
Now.
Wins a win.
They still got a shot.
Yeah.
I think they play Wisconsin coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, they have a off week this week.
Bye week.
Yeah, so they'll be up against Northwestern Wisconsin.
That'll be a great game to watch.
Looking online, doing some possible bets this weekend. And Wisconsin's coming in as...
Just for fun, right?
Obviously. But Wisconsin came in as a dog against Michigan. They get 1.5 points. Like, Michigan's favored by 1.5 points in this game.
Or Wisconsin?
No, Wisconsin's the dog. They're the underdog.
That's up in Wisconsin too, right?
I believe so.
Is it in Madison?
I believe
it is. So, I mean, I just thought that
it's interesting.
Information was a little interesting. I mean, granted, that was a line like 2 days ago when I checked it, but...
Well, Wisconsin's looked so good this year so far.
To me, they look like one of the best teams in the Big Ten. Jonathan Taylor.
Has Wisconsin ever had a bad running back? I feel like every year there's just another Wisconsin running back. Monte Ball, Melvin Gordon, this guy now. It's unbelievable. I think his last name Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor, yeah.
He looks great.
No, they're a running back factory.
I mean, you're going to be able to see which one, like, how real those teams are just right off the bat, first Big Ten game.
It is incredible, though, how they consistently produce those type of players. If you're a really good running back in high school, I think I'd want to go to Wisconsin because you see the success that these guys have.
If you can't get into, like, Alabama or Clemson.
True. But I meant that.
I mean, you'll be getting your 20, 25 plus carries because you're playing Big Ten football, too.
Exactly.
On Wisconsin, too, I don't know if they're fully back to their form where they were, like, earlier in this decade where they were a borderline top 10 team every year, but I think from what they've shown the first 2 weeks, they are probably the clear favorite in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if they lose to Michigan, that's not going to affect them getting into the championship game. I don't see anyone on that side because Nebraska, they really blew it against Colorado. Yeah. That was the only other team I thought might have a chance. Iowa, I don't think, is back there yet, so should be somebody coming out of the East against Wisconsin, I think.
I agree with you there, Trev.
Maybe Northwestern. I mean, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they've been a bit of a surprise team the last few years, but I think they had a lot of guys graduate. So,
well, those are Michigan and Michigan State recaps for you there. I think that's all the coverage we're going to provide for you guys today. As the season goes on, provide more NFL coverage, more college football coverage. Eventually get into more NBA news. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. We forgot one important topic. Team USA lost today in basketball for the first time in 58 games.
France.
What a tough loss, man.
Was this an important game?
This was the World Cup. This was in the quarterfinals.
No one plays anymore. No one plays in these games.
Well, I bet they'll play in the Olympics. I think that's the only thing they care about.
That's all that matters. I mean, we were going to lose to Australia and Aaron Baines. You see Boban going off for Serbia, dropping, like, no-look passes.
Boban.
Dude's a stud. I imagine Serbia's team's just, like, a bunch of 7-foot.
They're out.
Oh, they lost.
Yeah.
Poor Boban.
But the U.S., man. Losing to France. I actually give the players credit that went over there to play because no one else wanted to do it. But also, it's USA basketball. You feel like you should win every single game. So
it's not like soccer though, to where like all of our best, like you said, all of our best players don't want to play just because they risk injuring themselves in the NBA. Which,
like, so I imagine they'll play. A lot of them will play in the Olympics because every 4 years they want to get like the medal there. See Steph Curry.
Is it going to be the second rendition of the Redeem Team?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. But just a basketball update for you there before we get into the actual basketball season. That Team USA did officially lose today. Well, that wraps it up for this week's episode. Thanks to all support out there we've been getting from the fans.
Yeah, it's been a good week, and NFL season starts, or NFL Week 2 starts again tomorrow night.
Shout out to Mr. Molnar.
Yeah.
#1 fan.
Appreciate all the support we've been getting. If you've gotten to this point, feel free to leave a comment on some of the stuff we've talked about this week.
You've been working on some new video stuff as well there, Chuck.
Yeah, we should be getting a new graphics package. On YouTube, if you're watching on that platform, this podcast will actually go up right after the one from last week, which is not on YouTube yet. But hopefully you should be seeing some new sort of graphics packages, transitions coming to the show.
You teased it for us, and they looked great. So
we got one more plug too. We got the social media. We got the Twitter now.
That's right. Follow us at was that account?
For Pete's Sake Pod. So
we'll be dropping some polls for you guys.
Some fire.
Some good tweets for you guys. So we're excited.
Of course.
So follow along there, and that wraps it up for this week.
Also got some more videos coming to the YouTube channel soon, so stay tuned.
Sounds good.
Peace.